Add curiosity. The Why Didn't You Test That podcast experiences an insight on the many sides of better software delivery.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the next in the series of the Why Didn't You Test That podcast. I'm Rich Jordan, your resident host of the podcast, it would seem. Joining me today, we have James Walker. Say hello, James.
Hi, everyone. Glad to be back again. Thank you, Rich.
Cool. And joining us today, we have a very special guest. We have Sanjay Kumar. So Sanjay is an inventor and creator of SelectorsHub, Testing Daily, Test Case Studio, Test Case Hub, and CrowPath. He's on a mission to make testers and developers' life easy, and not working for any company, but working full-time for the community. That is an awesome sentence in your LinkedIn profile. Welcome, Sanjay. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Rich. Hello, James. Hi, Rich. Hello, everyone.
Cool. Let's first start by congratulating you and SelectorsHub. A million downloads. That is an awesome number.
Thank you. Thank you so
Unbelievable.
much. With all your support.
Unbelievable.
That is awesome. So let's get going. So first of all, a million people, it would seem, know who you are already. But for those who don't, tell us a bit about yourself and a bit about SelectorsHub, how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, sure. My name is Sanjay Kumar, and I have been developing these tools for the community from quite long. It's been more than, I guess, now almost more than 8 years now. So CrowPath, SelectorsHub, Test Case Studio, Testing Daily. Now check my links, auto test data, page load. There are many tools out there, which like pretty much every tester's life they have touched. My only goal is like to find out the problems of these daily problems of the testers and create the solutions for them. And that's how I have been working for the community like throughout my career. And now this all have been possible, of course, not just by me only. That huge community support, everyone out there have been supporting SelectorsHub from the day one and all these tools. So that's how it has been possible. I live in India, the beautiful city, Bangalore. I started SelectorsHub from Kanpur, which is a very famous city in Uttar Pradesh. So yeah, that's how SelectorsHub we launched in 2020, and today in 2024 we touched more than 1 million testers live downloads actually, and we have touched more than that, and we are hopeful that soon we will reach each and every testers and developers live with our solutions, and we'll make sure that we help them in all possible ways what we can do. And yes, going forward we'll talk more about all these things in this podcast.
That's an awesome number. There can't be many testers left that you haven't touched. So obviously, you rattled off lots and lots of different kind of capabilities that you've built. You're a serial kind of inventor or creator of capabilities for basically the testing industry. How do you go about understanding the kind of the community problems and then kind of working your way through to building out a solution?
So one of the major thing which I used to follow at SelectorsHub is that we hear our users' feedback at yet most highest priority. So whenever any user gives any kind of feedback, whether that's a negative feedback or anything they require, like many innovations in SelectorsHub which we have it today. One of the major thing in SelectorsHub, how it got invented, it was the criticism of the community. You can say the entire testing thing, that you must have heard this saying that don't use an XPath plugin or Selectors plugin, you will lose an XPath writing skills. So that's where I got this idea that why people criticize this particular thing, while this is a innovative tool which is going to save people's time. Like every tool out there in the world is basically an automation tool. Every single thing, like LinkedIn is also an automated tool, which basically is automated the process of communicating between professionals, finding the jobs. Like suppose for a second LinkedIn is not there, how I will find the people? I will go door to door, knock the door. Hey, are you looking for this job? Hey, I have created this tool. Do you want to use this tool? If we don't have, and so every single product in this world is an automation tool. So that's where I got an idea that people used to say that you should not use an XPath tool. So that's where I got an idea of inventing SelectorsHub, which will be a smart editor of XPath and selectors, where you will write the XPath automatically. It will show you the error message, what all things. So it became now it is today we have reached at a point where people used to say in interview and in like coaching, training institute, people used to teach about SelectorsHub, and they say that use SelectorsHub to learn about XPath and selectors. Earlier people used to say that don't use an XPath. So this is how we hear people. And then that's how like another tool got invented, like test case studio. People were struggling to find out the like problems of getting the steps, screenshot, etc. Then testing daily. Then so this all are like community feedback. Then reading about the problems of people on LinkedIn. We used to host a lot of meetups across like globe, India, everywhere. Pretty much like in every city we have hosted selectors of meetup through RTP, through different conferences. We used to go speak in like these kind of podcasts with people like you, and then hosting online webinars, etc. So we used to hear the people that what is the problem and dig down. I used to keep looking into the problems on LinkedIn or different forums, that what is the people used to keep doing the like regular thing. What can be automated? What can be the solve problem? What problem can be solved so that their life will be easy? So that's how these all tools got invented and created, and we used to keep developing day to day, each day every new tool and like new things in those tools.
That's cool. That's really interesting. What sparked thought, and I don't know whether this is a correct thought or not, but when we go out and talk to a lot of people, a lot of kind of managers of teams, they don't necessarily understand the challenges or the problems, and so when they're asking for solutions, they articulate macro problems rather than actual problems to be solved. And I was interested when you talked about talking to the community there. I'm assuming that you mean the practitioners more so than the kind of the leaders of
Absolutely.
people who are a bit disconnected.
Yes, yes.
Do you see that as a big challenge in our industry in terms of a lot of decisions, a lot of budgets that are spent are basically within the remit of people who don't necessarily understand the challenges?
Yes, absolutely. Like we used to see lots of like what you said, just that lots of budget, or you can say the money is being invested in those things which is in those areas which is not really required, but rather than like they should invest on something else, they could achieve, like they could help their team and achieve their goals like easily, which they don't spend for the very obvious reason. Sometimes people don't understand the like importance of those particular tools or technology, you can say, rather than like sometimes they feel like, okay, this is this is the regular thing which they have done with their experience, and they think that this is how it's supposed to be done. Like today AI is there, everybody is talking about AI. I didn't want to talk that thing, but yeah, so it's still like many people don't want to utilize that. Those who are utilizing it in the right way, they are achieving their goals faster than others, and they are learning new things, they are doing things faster. So yes, that's very correct. And I have seen in many like in my experience in many companies where people are not in like spending on right things, rather than they are spending on different kind of things which is not actually required. And I mean, that's a like natural thing, actually. I would say nobody can do the 100% perfect things.
It's interesting, isn't it? Like I completely agree with you, Sanjay. Like I think if we go back over the past 10 years, everyone was on this kind of silver bullet approach to automation, right? And I think now we've got past that. I think what's interesting is that in the testing industry, we have such a strong community. And I think that's evident by, the amount of downloads and installs you have in your products, right? And the amount of testers you have onboarded. And in other industries, I just don't think that exists. Like we have such a tight knit community, right? Like in the development industry, I don't think I know any kind of, people who are really kind of influencers, quote unquote, to the same level that we have in the testing community, right? And when you go to these conferences, you see a lot of the same faces giving the talks and everything. I just feel like we have a very unique industry to a certain extent, right? I don't know if you've seen that as well, Rich.
Yeah. I guess is it really interesting because when I think a lot of problems that come to testers aren't necessarily, they're inherited by testers, right? And this is the grand who's responsible for quality, yada yada. Let's not get into that, right? But ultimately, you have a lot of best practices, new technologies coming along. Those new technologies are there to solve a problem. The interesting one that goes back a few years now, but why does APIs, microservices technology exist? It exists to create bounded context, right? To break apart an architecture. But yet, how many times does that actually flow through the architecture, the design, the build, the test? How many times do you actually see that flowing through? And actually, almost that is the way that we do these things because that architecture is used. It doesn't, right? When you talk to testers, too many times they come up with a test strategy that talks very generic about certain ways of doing things and totally ignores the technology to which it's being built. I'm interested to get your thoughts, Sanjay, in terms of.
exactly, like most of the time I used to see, you rightly mentioned that people or like in our testing word, we used to talk about like strategies, building the test cases, writing the test cases, theory part, or you can say the process part. Sometimes we stuck to, like in LinkedIn also you can see most of the time
Yeah.
you will find the debate around like any particular term or process. So we, I mean, like in general, I would say compared to the development side or the developer side, we like in testing community, we talk less about the technology, more about the process and setting these things, that thing. So that's where I feel like if we, I mean, this is my personal opinion, absolutely it can be wrong, that we should if we focus more on the like solutions, finding the problems of our day-to-day routine process and avoid always setting the process or this I mean like following the like old methods of doing the testing. If we try to solve or create a solution with the technology tools and everything, that way we might achieve the better quality of the product. We might be able to do the things in a better way, like all the tools like under SelectorsHub umbrella or other tools like which have been developed like Selenium, Cypress, Playwright, or any other tool like Curiosity. Many tools are there out there in the industry. So if we like focus on these things like technology, that's where like these tools comes in and they make our life easier and a lot easier. So I believe like rather than setting or definitions or always talking about like in testing conferences, you go, most of the people you will hear at high level, like you do this, we should do this, we should do that. I feel like we should talk more about the solutions. Like we should build this. We have built this particular thing. We were facing our testers were doing this manually every day. So we automated this process and this is the solution. We have made it free. We have made it open source like that. So that way we can improve the life of testers. We can improve the productivity or quality of the product, and whatever we are delivering, we can deliver it much more faster way. Absolutely correct that seeing those things, what like 10 years, like James mentioned that before 10 years, before people were doing whatever they are doing it today, sometimes people invest more money in a like old processes rather than believing in the new tools, new technology. They have a fear, oh, we might lose our job, we might not be able to use this particular tool or technology. What if we will implement this? So yes, that is there.
I'm interested in terms of your experience, Sanjay, your conversation. Obviously, you speak to a lot of people, right? You've been speaking to them for a long, long time. How much has that conversation evolved in terms of, the people you spoke to 8 years ago, if you can remember that far back, as you spoke to a lot of people, into today, right? There is an accusation that testing has stagnated, right? And it hasn't really changed. We're still trying to solve the same problems as we did, 10, 15 years ago. Arguably we've just been talking about that, right? In terms of strategies don't reflect the technologies that have been being implemented today. In your opinion, how have those conversations changed? If they haven't changed, then what do you think needs to be done? Or if they have changed, what kind of good things and bad things are you seeing?
It's a mix kind of, I would say that if there are set of people, if you talk those kind of set of people, the conversation is still happening the same way, that we should do this, we should do that, and like we were doing in that, we were doing this process, particular testing in this way, we should follow that. And some people talk about like innovative things. Oh, AI came, so now we are implementing AI in our solutions. We have developed this particular solution. Now we are using this particular framework. We have redesigned our framework with this new particular new tool or new technology. And then there are people who are still curious whether the past thing is good or the new thing good. So this is a kind of like mix which always happen. Difficult to say that like yes or no for this particular question, that whether that conversation has been changed or not. Evolved, of course, but not that much. Sometimes you will be surprised in conferences or the people you will be talking, they still talk about like those old things. You will be surprised, oh, he is still thinking that way. So that surprise comes sometimes, but not always true with each and everyone. So yes.
Is that a tester skill set thing, or is that a kind of a demographic of where more where the organization they come from, their context is, or is that, like you say, a tester skill? What I'm coming from there is almost context is important, right? And I think a lot of the kind of the LinkedIn conversation that you find, you've got some very strong opinions, right? But they come from a certain context, right? And don't necessarily recognize context of other people on those conversations. So you got, large financial services organizations, for example, they've got a lot of legacy mainframe, a lot of technical debt in there, a lot of heavy process. they are very constrained to the way
Yes.
certain things can work, right? On the very flip side, you've got your startups where, the complexity is quite low, the opportunity to implement new ways
Yeah,
of working is
low
there.
risk.
The controls aren't necessarily where,
Yes.
the
The complete
the
thing has been.
regulated organization would have kittens, but they are trying to have the same conversation. Do you see that? Is that a challenge?
Yes, 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 definitely. This is a big, big challenge sometimes, and in fact, like you rightly mentioned that I used to see this in LinkedIn. Actually, if I should define
You
myself,
see?
I'm not. So we see it in LinkedIn, we see it in like many conferences as well. This happen a lot. We have to face this kind of challenge where people is stuck with those kind of conversation. They try to implement their old methods and like difficult to, like you said, like mainframe. I have worked with mainframe as well in earliest stage of my career in IBM. So they used to, because their system, their everything has been designed and developed in that particular technology. So difficult to like move to another thing. But I mean, now today we have so much flexibility of another like different kinds of tech and technology tools, and everything is there. So yes, there are like lots of conversation and lots of people there in LinkedIn or any like social media platform, you can say, not just LinkedIn, and like in conferences. Yes, you will stuck with such kind of conversation and discussion where you will feel, oh, I could have like solved this particular problem, and these whatever they are doing or whatever they are saying, this has been like very old thing. And in fact, like in reality, actually those things are not happening in industry. I should say, like these new startups, maybe like in MNCs, in big companies where they follow lots of process, where they don't want to change the things because those are stable. There it could be possible like their solution, what they are
Yeah.
talking, that might be implemented, and because senior peoples are there, or maybe like whatever things, what for whatever reason they might not want to change. But in like new companies, those who are like evolving these days, startups and everywhere, they are like very fast changing, like rapid, like they today might be using this framework, just after 1 month they might be entirely rewritten the another thing, and they are doing much more faster. And that's how like today's companies are becoming like unicorn or something else, or like going IPO, etc., just in very less time compared to like what old things has been done.
It's to me, it's like a double-edged sword, right? Like I think the amount of technology there is today, like it's so easy to move fast, right? If you're developing a product, like you can go into GitHub, you can download a library, you can assemble components together, you can build an app pretty quickly, right? If you want to, and you have the skills, etc., right? I do think, just coming back to your original point, Rich, I think it's a lot harder now than it was before to build software and to build high quality software. If you went back 20, 25 years ago, it was all waterfall. You start at the beginning, you have your big requirements, you deliver one thing, and that's it. We then went to agile. Now there's companies out there who are trying to deploy several times a day into their cloud environments, right? You look at the architecture, and you touched on this earlier as well. We've gone from monoliths to microservices, and there's so many degrees of complexity, right? Was it Netflix who have something like 1,000 microservices in their architecture or something? And I was just writing a blog earlier in the week, or late last week, on the evolution of test data management. And in that article, I was trying to talk through how test data has evolved over the years. We started off at the beginning, to your point, Sanjay, in mainframes. Then we evolved to relational databases. Now we're in NoSQL and all of this good stuff out there. And now if you move past it in the SaaS world, a lot of applications don't even have the concept of a backend database. It's just all about going through the API, pulling data in and out. And it's like, if you're a tester, you've gone from this monolith, simple architecture, waterfall delivery to, delivering really often microservices, huge complexity of architecture. And there's just so much stuff out there. Like, it's really hard these days actually to deliver high quality software. And I don't know any organization who has it nailed down and is being 100% successful, right? Like, it's really hard to do, isn't it?
Yes, because we are doing things like very fast. Like I remember back in like
Yeah. Yeah.
10, 12 years back when I was like in IBM, we used to just push one release. It used to take like almost 6 months. And here we are every 6 minutes
Yeah.
like this, we are pushing the releases. Like in fact, like in SelectorsHub, millions of people are using today, and we just don't take any much time. Like if people ask that, any user asks us like, I need this feature, this is not working, we just fix that. We test like at high level and everything is working fine, just push it. We don't take that
Yeah.
much time. So yes, definitely like 100% quality, of course. I mean, even that time was also not possible. Even today, not possible. And even in future, 100% testing cannot be ever complete. So it's like just keep on doing, like, so people using and delivering those way, like we can do. And
Yeah.
I think you just articulated something really interesting, right, in terms of newer ways of working. And I think you articulated there in terms of Selectors Hub, right? You fell forward, right, in terms of the expectation on quality is not that everything works perfectly first time. Actually, that whole feedback loop and that whole community thing is part of the quality cycle, right? In terms of, almost quality in that guise is that they can use that product, they can give you fast feedback, and they will get a fast fix. That
yes.
it's an interesting one. Was that intentional in the way that would work, or is that by design? Did you almost fall into that way of working purely because that's the way modern development goes?
Yes, you can say like it was designed like that way, or maybe like I have a habit of that thing that whenever some feedback comes, so sometimes it happened that I don't post frequently the new releases until there's any feedback. Sometimes I become like stagnant that okay, now what to develop, what not to develop, nothing is there, everything is perfect. This is like now is the saturation point. So that's where I start thinking. But suddenly whenever any like negative feedbacks comes, whenever any user has faced any challenges, that's where again we like push something or we add any new feature, and that's how the push releases. So yes, it happened like that way also.
I think there's an interesting dynamic change there in terms of testing, isn't it? In terms of when are you finished? When it's good enough, right? Nothing needs to be gold plated, silver plated, whatever you want to call it, right? And I think there is another shift change in terms of what has testing become, right? In terms of historically, we try and get 100% coverage. Caveat there, what does 100% coverage even mean, right? You execute endless amounts of testing, endless amounts of regression, something pops out the end to say, yes, this will be perfect. No, that was never the case, right? And so we've evolved into actually what is good enough. And I think the interesting part there in what does quality mean? What does good enough mean? Good enough means that we get to a certain point where, our
User can
alpha
use the
testers, our
product
beta
and they can
testers,
fulfill the requirement. Yeah.
absolutely.
And whenever we feel that, okay, this is good enough for a user to fulfill their requirement, their use cases, and everything is fine, we should push the release, like, because if we will keep it like with us, we might keep it with us forever. I will take some examples of a couple of my friends so when I developed the very first extension, so I used to work as a tester initially, then I become developer. So my friend was there and he used to always keep me saying that Raghunandan Gupta, he always used to say like, I have developed this extension, you just create this and I will help you to push this to production or wherever in Chrome store. And I created the product and I was ready with the like pushing it to the production, to the Chrome store. I asked him like, can you help me with this to push it to production? He said like, I never pushed because I thought like I'm still testing my product, and he's still testing his product and I'm with 1 million downloads. So
Wow.
so it happened like we many times it happened that we used to keep testing, and if you have that thought in mind, so this is like very important thing for our testers, that we should keep in mind that we cannot like complete the testing. We will always get a new use case. You think you just sleep with your product in mind and you will get some more ideas, more use cases. So whenever you feel that okay, this product is now good enough, just push it. And
Yeah,
that's like you will
absolutely.
keep getting more feedback, and that's how you improve your productivity. I mean, quality of the product, and because not just the quality, you also have to add like more and more features in your product, so it becomes like more usable, more like solving more problems. If it is like 100% perfect product, it might not be useful for the people. It might not be solving their problem. People will be good to use a
Yeah.
buggy product if that product is solving their problem. If your product is 100% perfect, but if it is not fulfilling the requirement, doesn't make sense. So
And
you
it
should
really,
keep that in mind.
I mean, it really depends on risk, right? If
Yep.
you're in an environment where your appetite for risk is kind of high because the cost of something going wrong is low, right? Like you with 1 million users, actually, if you push out bad software, the chances of that actually having a bad experience is probably quite high. Like if you impact 10% of your users, they're dissatisfied, they're probably going to leave. So actually, I think testing at that level actually becomes very important But if you're at the beginning of you're in a startup, you're at the beginning of your journey, absolutely just push the software out, get feedback as fast as you can. And that's
Yes.
fantastic, right? The one that comes to mind at the moment is I keep thinking about these guys in the International Space Station. Have you seen this? There
They're stranded, aren't they?
yeah, there were these two people who went up there. I think it's two people,
Yes, yes.
two astronauts, and they were meant to be going up there for like 3 or 4 days or something. And now they've been told they're up there pretty much indefinitely because there was a few problems with the Boeing spacecraft that was meant to pick them up, right? And I think that just summarizes it, right? Like, think about how much testing has gone into these
Goes there.
systems,
Yep.
and you just have to make the assumption that every system in the world has defects in. There is no system in the world that is defect free, right? So you just have to play it on risk and try and de-risk as much as possible, I guess, right?
So there are ways to mitigate that. And interestingly,
Yeah.
we obviously one of our main tools is around modeling and software modeling, right? And therefore, a lot of what the conversation we've just been having was around experimentation, right? And you're experimenting with getting that end capability out as soon as you can. When we talk about kind of modeling, a lot of the conversation is around we spend too much designing capabilities, writing requirements, etc., etc. These are the customers we talk to, by the way. And so, they're almost in a fixed mindset of waterfall by which you need to have this defined stage and you articulate out your requirements to the nth degree, right? We know that's a fallacy. We know that the requirements cannot be known until you start to get further down the line. And therefore, actually modeling becomes experimentation, right? How do you model out something so it's good enough, right? So it's good enough to then go to the next stage of experimentation, be that build, be that testing out the model, whatever stage next. There are means and ways to mitigate those things. James, we talk about a lot about the inner and outer loop, right? Do you want to jump in and kind of talk about that a little bit in terms of mitigating, or sorry, the neglect, let's say, of some of those mitigating factors that can be faced into?
Well, I think what we've been talking about a lot recently, Sanjay, is a lot of organizations we speak to, especially higher up the chain. It's all about developer productivity, right? That's like the highest KPI. And when you start really focusing on developer productivity, everything else becomes skewed. You're just focused on churning out as many lines of code as possible. And actually, what we found is the outer loop, which is definitely where you guys fit as well. It's every single piece of the ecosystem kind of beyond the code. It's requirements, it's automation, it's testing, it's data, it's environments. And what we're finding is actually organizations may focus so extensively on development KPIs that actually they're kind of missing the point, and their development productivity is so low. It's because they don't have good data, they don't have good testing, they don't have good requirements, and it causes havoc everywhere else, right? So what we're finding is actually to increase quality, increase productivity, and everything we do in the testing space is so important, right? And that's kind of where you get to. So I think it's quite interesting. Rich, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't know. It obviously book this bit.
No, you're good.
But I guess in terms of, I think that we will have with a lot of teams that we engage with, and inevitably, I'm assuming come to you, Sanjay, have failed automation attempts, right? And a lot of that is around, very fragile, unstable foundations when it comes to what are they actually trying to test and the actual implementation of the automation. Do you want to kind of, typical conversation in terms of organization comes to you, Sanjay, and says, right, I've heard you've got this silver bullet in SelectorsHub. How do I solve all of these systemic automation problems that I've always had?
Yes, this always pretty much, I guess this happened with everyone. People wanted to do something else and they end up doing something else. So that's like very natural thing. And then people comes to, yes, that you have this particular tool, and we have all these problems. Can it be solved? So, I mean, difficult to like solve each and every problem with one particular tool or any particular tool. Each tool solves like one particular, so that we used to tell. But yes, you are very right that I have like many people I have heard, and many people I have seen that those who used to come to me that, okay, you have this awesome tool. We heard that SelectorsHub is there and our entire automation is breaking, or we have mobile app, we have website. Can your tool automate each and everything? I'm like, oh, what? So,
That's
so
crazy,
one
isn't
tool
it?
cannot like do everything. That we should also like set the like higher management or whomsoever is thinking about the automation or anything, 100% cannot be done with one tool. You will have to implement lots of things and process and like technology to automate, or like in fact you will also have to do the manual ways to do some to cover some of the scenarios which you want to do that, because not everything the use of your product by the end user is not going to happen in the same way like your automation will do for your to use or like to test your particular product. So you should also consider those scenario doing the manual ways as well, like a human use. Yes, so basically like we should cover each and everything, all particular scenarios in a same way which end user is going to. Unnecessarily don't automate each and everything. Don't try to automate like each single thing, and don't think that 100% automation can be achieved or 100% testing can be achieved by in any ways.
I think it's interesting in terms of be realistic about what can be done. Like you say,
Yes.
right,
Yeah.
you need to have a good approach, and that might be a collection of both test types, tools, recognizing that some of it probably is non-deterministic and therefore needs to stay manual. Do you think this expectation of automation, you can automate everything, AI will replace it, do you think, that whole bandwagon has increased over time, or do you think it's diminished? Why don't we learn from our mistakes?
I mean, I used to learn a lot. I don't know about others.
Yeah.
That's the brand right when you Sanjay.
That's why he has 1 million downloads. You know?
And that's how selector sub is there. Just a part. So yes, that's very true. Like not everyone used to do that way. So I just missed the question. Can you just repeat, please?
Why don't you think we learn from our mistakes? Do you think that's a tester problem, or do you think that's outside influences?
That's a human problem. I mean, it's not just like testers or developers. I mean, this saying is like very, very general, like, why don't we learn from our errors? So it cannot be like just, we cannot just say that testers are not learning from their errors. It could be anyone, like developer, testers, business analysts, anyone can be there. But yes, we should like, what we hear in our industry, that these kind of things comes a lot for the testers, that we should be doing like 100% automation. Every tester should learn the coding. Every tester should do the coding. We don't want the, I mean, you must have seen that many companies are like completely laying off the testing teams, or they are converting every testers to the developers. So we should come out of those kind of like immediate, I mean, these kind of thoughts. We should be like more realistic. If you want to like make your company successful, or you want to achieve something, I mean, just think real thing. Don't like just go do bluff with your own company, or just like if you're working with a company or someone, I mean, with someone, like be realistic. Like don't just ask your team that automate 100%, do 100% this way or that way. Nothing can be like achieved in a same format. 100% cannot be achieved. So if you're doing, whether this is a testing or development, like if I say that, okay, now ChatGPT is there, I can get my entire code from there. I don't need Stack Overflow or like dev tools or whatever. No, it can't happen that way. Yes, ChatGPT is there. We should use, definitely we should utilize. I see whenever any new tool or technology come, I see it as a automated tool, or they might have automated one kind of process. So they have automated one kind of process, that I was writing email earlier. I used to write today as well, but I copy paste there and make it better. Like it will correct the grammar, it will make it improvise that. Today also I used to write the YouTube title. I put it there, make it better. Similarly, like if earlier I used to like look for the code, look for the solution at Stack Overflow where people were writing. Now ChatGPT, it has automated that process of like Stack Overflow where people were writing the solution for a problem. Now ChatGPT is there, so I'm utilizing that way. But I don't think like it will just replace my job. It will start developing the tools. It will start creating the idea. Okay, one day ChatGPT will come, think automatically. Oh, selectors are required, XPath are required, and it will automatically develop a selectors of extension. It will publish in Chrome Store. It is never gonna happen. So because I mean, if you think it direct in a single way, that we have developed the ChatGPT, not ChatGPT has developed us. So this is another tool. Yes. So people are talking a lot about it. They might not be implementing in their own company. They still might be using the same old ways, but they will talk. They will be talking in the conferences in many ways, just to like whatever region. So and means if I counter this, you see that in SelectorsHub, Initially, we tried to implement AI, but we found like this is not a right use case to implement in our solutions.
Right.
And today, you see, like we have a 1 million downloads or users, you can say testers using it. And we still like last month, we launched one product, Check My Links. Today, just within a month, it got 10,000 active users, testers are using it. There's no AI, nothing is there. It's a simple plugin. So there are many problems which we can find out for the testers, which can improve their productivity. We can improve their productivity even without any AI, without any rocket science. Very simple thing. We can do that.
Mhm.
We can
I
solve
think that
problem for many millions.
I think that's really, really interesting, really healthy that you're saying these things, right? Because you're quite right that not all problems are best fits for AI, right? And so
Yes, yes,
there are
of course.
there are numerous other ways to better solve these problems, and it's healthy
Absolutely, absolutely.
that all too much you see vendors come out with AI everything, right? And are
Yes,
they
yes,
actually
yes.
solving a problem, or actually is it just it is a marketing gimmick a lot of the time, right?
Many times I discuss with many people, and when we talk in community as well with the leaders, many people agree, yes, this is like marketing gimmick. Sometimes we talk about AI in our product that we have it just to sell it, or maybe like just to raise a fund and all. But
Yeah,
actual problems can be solved even without AI as well. Can be even
yeah,
better way.
absolutely.
There are problems. There are very, very good problems in testing in development space, which should be solved, which can be solved. Just that there should be a person to find out the problems in a right way. You can solve it, you can earn, you can make life better for the people. And the same way like we are doing at selectors of every day, every single day, we try to find out the local problems or the like generic problems which testers are doing it manually or in whatever ways like developer or whomsoever is doing it is. We try to find out those problems, we create a very simple solution for them. Very simple. We don't use any rocket science, any AI or anything, just simple JavaScript, 2 3 files, half a page of code, and that's simple, solve the problem. So anybody can do that.
Absolutely. James,
Yeah.
your thoughts?
No, I agree with that. I mean, to me, why I'm going to caveat this to begin with. I love AI. I think it's fantastic, and I use it every day as well, Sanjay. I'm like you, like every single email, I'm like, let's put it through ChatGPT and let's see. But also, if I would, if an algorithm exists, I would not use AI. Like, why would you do that? AI is non-deterministic by nature, right? Like, you don't get the same result every time. And for 99.9% of use cases, that is not good enough. Like, you want to have determinism. That is incredibly useful when you're creating software and you're trying to plug in an algorithm where you want to have deterministic results back out, right? Where I see AI being useful is actually when you're trying to take something that's inherently unstructured and turn it into something structured. So we've had good use cases where it's like you take a recording transcript of a meeting, which is very random. It's all over the place. It's very unstructured textual data, right? You plug that into an LLM and you say, give me back a model or a flowchart which covers all the different business processes and everything that was discussed in that meeting, right? And let's try and really hone down the requirements into a model that we can then use for testing, right? And that's fantastic because that's not possible using an algorithm. But I agree with you. I see a lot of companies who are just, let's plug AI, let's use AI to do this, let's use AI to do this. And you're like, no, like there are algorithms that have existed for the past 30 years that can do this procedure. Why are we using AI for it? Just use the algorithm. And
Absolutely.
I really, I don't understand that. I think you're right, Rich. It's a lot of buzz, and that's kind of the nature of it. And also, you know what developers are like. We love experimenting. We love using new technology. And sometimes it's just, how can I apply this, even if it's the wrong,
Yep.
technology to apply to it, right?
Absolutely.
It's interesting this because a lot of what you were talking, a lot of what you both were talking about, right, is tools utilities for everyday productivity for developers and testers, right? But yet the message gets conflated into I will replace everything, right? And it's like, hang on, there's a big difference, right? And everybody, it's the same conversation from earlier on, right? And that practitioners know the challenges, they know where the solutions can solve the challenges, but yet there seems to be this. I suppose it's a marketing stroke who holds the budget kind of problem in organizations, right? Obviously, you've got a hell of a lot of capability, Sanjay. I guess the interesting conversation from my point of view is what are the current challenges that you are looking at solving next? Put you on the spot a little bit there. You can't have solved all of them.
Yes. Of course, I can't solve all of them, but
Anyway,
if there will be any challenge, so I don't sleep with those challenges. I immediately start building the solutions for them, and that's how there are many people
I
those
love
who
it.
used to say what is the next tool you are developing? What is the next tool you are launching? So I used to always say that if there will be problem, I might be launching today itself. So as of now, like I'm not running with any challenges. So
all
pretty much
right.
everything is solved. So I already launched couple of tools last week. Maybe another month we'll launch few more. So I used to like whenever there's a problem, I immediately start working. I can't sleep like if there is a challenge in my mind. Okay, this problem should be solved. So I immediately I recently developed and published this tool like page load time, and people are using it. And then there was a problem like one of our users used to ask me like, can it be like this way? And immediately, like just before this call, I was just developing that thing, and I was just implementing and just will be pushing, and that will be like so. It's a good problem like which we have solved. So like you very well said that what is the next challenge you are solving? So there are always challenge. You just keep talking your users, keep talking to the community. You will feel you will find out the problems. You just ask them like, okay, you did the testing today. What
Yeah.
were the challenges? Where you got stuck? And I mean, not immediately you will find a like problem to create a solution, but eventually like once you will become habitual of finding the problems out of their talk or out of their conversation, then immediately you will become a creator, and you will start creating developing solutions and tools, etc., like that. And that's how it happened with me.
Do you find that they articulate the problems, or they kind of tend to talk about symptoms of a problem, and you need to go and get to the root cause?
So both, like in sometimes they used to directly say that, okay, Sanjay, this particular tool, your tool is not solving this problem. So that this is like direct. Okay, this is a feature request. Most of the times it doesn't come like that way. You have to feel with their problems. Like for if I talk about this testing daily, so I was roaming around, and after lunch I was in a walk. I was just thinking that I missed that. I missed couple of conferences, and then I immediately called one of my friend. Hey, did you get to know about this particular conference? These conferences recently passed. He said, no. How to get to know about them? I used to use the LinkedIn, this platform. I follow these people. So then from there I got an idea that there should be a platform, because there are like millions of blogs every day written on
Mm.
Medium, LinkedIn, Curiosity, Lambda Test, Apply Tools. There are
Yeah.
Tricentis. Many companies are there. Everybody is creating content for testers. Now, as a tester, you cannot go and follow each and every company's website. You cannot follow each and every influencer. So that's where I got an idea and then before developing it, I talked to many people that what you do, how do you keep yourself updated with this particular thing, like with software testing? What do you do? I follow this influencer, I follow you, I follow him,
Yeah.
and etc. So this is where this is how we used to sometimes get the like idea of any tool. Sometimes you keep reading the post of LinkedIn, like what people are talking about, what problem they are
Hmm.
following. They sometimes you might look at the comparison of couple of tools, and then you see that okay, all these tools are not solving this particular problem. Let's solve this. Like that it happens. So it's just like you get a creator mindset like when you start and when you get mature out of those, and you when you have like when you love it and when you feel the fun of it. So yes.
We're slightly going off piece, but I'm intrigued to understand what's the duration between idea to product. How long does it actually take you?
I don't take
Typically.
much time. Typically, not even 1 week, I would say.
Hmm.
Yes. So I
That's amazing.
immediately start developing the product and try to push as ASAP. So that because I believe if there is a solution for a small problem, if your particular solution is solving 5 people problem in my network, if my solution is solving 5 people problem, my network is 100 people network. Out of those 100, I'm solving 5 people problem. Imagine in entire world how many people are there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this 100 become like 100 million, 1 billion. This 5 will become 5 million. So basically, I'm going to solve this problem for 5 million people on an average. I'm thinking. So that's how I think. I immediately post. Maybe it could be buggy. Maybe it could not be solving 100% problem, but it will solve those 5 people problem. Those 5 people will tell me, okay, this should be done. So that's how. Like if you look at any tool which I have launched, from day one and you compare now, like 1% I have launched and now they are at 100% at that level, every single tool. So that's how.
That's the way to do it, though, isn't it? It's
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
amazing.
it's interesting. How do you decide? I'm assuming you probably get lots of engagement around things that people want. That how do you know whether it's going to be useful or not? I guess it becomes
Yes.
a volume
So
thing, right?
uh, uh, the same answer, like the last one. If I feel that this problem, 5 people, 4 people, even 1 person is having this problem and this solution is going to solve problem for these 5 people or 1 person, I just post that. I will create the solution for that and I will post that. I'm 100% sure if this guy is facing this problem, if this person, 1 person has this problem, that means millions of people are having this problem. Just that we don't know who are those people. So we, through marketing or through communication or through community or whatever ways, we have to find out those people that I have created this solution. Take it, go enjoy. Like XPath and selectors problem, selectors hub. Even today, people you will see like people will be talking, don't use XPath tool, don't use selectors. They are still writing manual. Okay, fine. But I found out those millions of people, I converted them and they are using it happily.
That's awesome. Conscious of time, Sanjay, thank you very much for your time today. If people want to get hold of you, want to understand more about kind of Selectors Hub or all of the other various capabilities that you've got, how do they contact you or find out more about you?
One place, selectorshub.com, and they will get everything.
Awesome. If you could give one piece of advice to the testing community struggling with test automation, what would it be? You Selectors Hub.
You use selectorshub. I mean, yes, that's absolutely correct. But I
If you've
hardly
got-
say no. But
I was going to say, if you've got a feature enhancement, Sanjay will turn it around in a week.
Just a whole new product. Just
yeah, you just
even
let me know
beyond
that.
yeah.
Definitely, yeah. You just let me know that this is a problem, or you just ping me anywhere, and I might come up with a tool.
That's
True.
awesome.
I mean,
That's
the only point,
amazing.
like one suggestion is that, like, if you find a problem, just create a solution for that. There are solutions. Don't think that you don't know this technology, how you will create. If you are an engineer, you should be a like good Googler, or now ChatGPT is there. So your prompt can solve your problem. So how good you put the prompt, how good you put the keyword out there on Google or ChatGPT, you can get the solution. I'm not a good developer. I'm a chemical engineer.
Awesome. It sounds like you're a good developer. Also awesome.
Now I'm.
Once again, massive thank you to Sanjay. Really
Thank you,
interesting
Sanjay.
insight, not just on testing, but product development. Let's be honest.
Thank you
Thanks
so
very
much,
much.
guys, for having me
Thanks
here.
for James for co-hosting with me. Please subscribe to the podcast. Let's grow the community out bigger than Sanjay's 1 million.
Thank you.
One day we'll get
Thanks,
there.
guys.
Once again, thank you, Sanjay. Big thank you.
Thank you
Thank you,
so
Sanjay.
much, Rich
Bye.
and James, for having me here. Yeah.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Why Didn't You Test That podcast. To continue the conversation, head over to curiositysoftware.ie. Subscribe for more episodes.